pretty rocky start to our road trip.
At least it has got a name now, rather than just a number.
That's true. It has got a number as well.
Oh, good.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Ignition podcast. Tonight we have, as we did last week, Phil, Chris, Ed and myself, Lewis, from Ignition. We're the team who are involved in the background with the Cars and Coffee events in Stamford. And as we said last week, we've put together a bit of a podcast to talk nonsense about cars, really, which is pretty much what we do all week, isn't it? So, yep. We'll go straight into it this week. So, our week in cars. We did this last week, talk about what we've been up to, and see if there's anything interesting. I don't know. Have you done anything interesting in cars? Let's go with Phil, shall we?
I've had quite a productive week with my car. I've spent a lot of time working on the Porsche 911, which is a 1978, not 79 vintage. I bought it in quite a poor state, and I've spent an awful lot of time doing things on it to make it better. But I couldn't quite nail all the final bits that I wanted just to iron out. So I've ended up taking it to a local Porsche specialist who, if anybody can remember last week or even watched last week's, will remember that these lot pointed out I'm the oldest one here. So this guy, this Porsche specialist, is a similar age to me, similar vintage, and he's only ever worked on vintage Porsches and classic Porsches. I left it with him for 2 days, and the car has come back absolutely remarkable. It's so different. I have a acquaintance in this room with me now, with an old Ferrari the same age, and the Ferrari used to be a little bit quicker. Now I don't think it's going to be a competition at all. Not laying down the gauntlet one bit.
Mind you, somebody needs a diff.
Yeah. Well, my week in cars is similar actually, but we'll go on to that in a minute. Chris, what have you been up to then?
So, got my Nissan 350Z back on the road. It's been off about 7 months now, on and off. New MOT, a few bits and pieces, and it's had a clean. That's about it, really.
The joys of owning Japanese cars, then.
As long as it hasn't rusted away, that's...
Yeah, brilliant.
Did you manage to clean it yourself?
Yes, I did find some rust. Wheel arches going.
Japanese car, I suppose, yeah. What about you, Ed? Have you been up to much?
Well, following on from the conversation of rust, I spent most of the weekend taking rust out of the camper van from around the windscreen surround.
What camper van have you got? Let's just tell the excited people who can't wait to hear.
It's a VW T4, the finest vintage of VW camper van, obviously.
It is. The high-top version.
Split screens are rubbish. Just so we all know. Water cooled all the way, never air cooled.
And it's so reliable, isn't it, Ed?
Water cooled diesel. Yeah.
So that was most of my weekend.
That car's driven to the moon and back, hasn't it? What mileage is it?
I'm hoping this year it's going to tick over 300,000 miles.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
proper high mileage club vehicle.
We'll have to do a
How
party
many's
for
been
it.
your mileage?
About 80,000, I think. So quite a lot now. But I've had it for 9 years. It's I always dreamt of a T4 throughout my life. So when I finally achieved it in my late 20s, it was a highlight of my life.
It's very aspirational.
There's a running theme with Ed's car choices.
Nice old VW. And last weekend I actually went camping in it on the Friday night prior to doing my work.
Exactly, it broke down somewhere and you just had to stay in it.
Pretty much, yeah. And at the campsite there was a, I don't know what you call it, temporary houses, like modular houses on the site.
Okay.
Shepherd's huts.
Yeah, but bigger, like cabins. And one of the cabins had a Ferrari Dino replica
Oh, right.
outside, and one of our long-term favourites, the Jeep Wrangler. So
Did it?
it was quite the appealing house. So that was probably a highlight for me.
Oh.
And then I've done a lot of work driving this week as well. I've been up to Scotland and stuff. So that's about it for me.
You had a more interesting car week than I did then. Well, some of you remember last week I said that I'd fixed my 147 GTA, which, was great. When I bought it, the cam belt came off on the way home. And I thought the issue was because the CV joint had gone on one side and it sprayed grease all over the auxiliary belt, and the auxiliary belt disintegrated and got in the cam belt, and that's why I thought it had skipped. But took a bit of a drive, cam belt slipped again. So I think it's the tensioner that's gone. It's not that old, the tensioner on it, by the looks of it, so I thought it'd be okay, but I've got to change that. So we've got a new tensioner today, and going to be fitting that over the weekend. Just went to Greetham Gathering, didn't we, earlier? I suppose that's some carnage. We went out as a group outing. It was very romantic, wasn't it?
It was lovely.
We saw some of our lovely Ignition customers there, didn't we? Which was nice.
And some that we're glad that don't come here.
Yes, some. Yeah, absolutely.
Choice vehicles.
Yeah, there was an eclectic mix. It was much quieter this time than normal, wasn't it? It's usually a great event, Greetham, by the way. Really, really good event.
I'd say it's 50% down on
Yeah.
previous
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Well,
I
whether
don't
that's
know why.
because of possible rain, I don't know.
Yeah,
Because there was different cars there. You often get the same ones every week or
Yeah.
every month.
Yeah,
They were different this week.
yeah. So, but I mean, it was interesting to have a look round. That Auto Bianchi thing was quite cool. I don't know what it was.
Tell me about it.
I don't know anything about it really.
I want a Cadillac now.
Early 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, that really tastefully decorated Rover SD1.
Oh.
Rover SD1, what a car to behold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
I'd
And
say
then they
that.
did something to
Yeah,
it.
have you?
Oh, I have, yes.
Oh, really? Oh, there we go. Were
All
they new
different
or?
guises. No, they weren't new.
Were any of them that colour?
Very good. Okay, so we've got a few things to talk about this week, which we can run through and see how we get on. First subject is a bit of an interesting one that we'll go through. So, is Lamborghini a car enthusiast brand? That's sort of the subject to talk about, and it's an interesting one. I've had an old Gallardo, and I've got an opinion on it, and you guys have all had a go in it and experienced that, and be interested to see your opinions. Who wants to go first? Anybody
Looks like
desperate?
Phil has War and Peace ready.
I'm happy to throw my opinion on Lamborghini.
Go on, then. go on. Then. You go for it, Phil.
I
Sorry.
must say, it isn't all of this writing that Chris has spotted. They're just key points, really.
Oh, it's good you've done
Even
some
worse,
prep.
it's not even like for a word.
Lamborghini owners, they seem to be the sort of people that they'd go out and buy a lovely brand new, for £14,000, £15,000 Rolex, and then leave it in the safe at home, whilst wearing their 40 quid crappy Lucky Man imitation Rolex. They're the sort of people that can only go fast in their fast cars in straight lines or public car parks, from what I've seen.
Before you go much further, sorry to any Ignition customers who'd like to come in Lamborghinis. He doesn't mean all Lamborghinis, just some.
Not an entire generalisation.
No,
This is
obviously.
just from experience. Meeting
Of
Lamborghini
Lewis.
owners.
Yeah, but not the ones that come to Ignition, obviously. They're all lovely.
They're all proper car drivers.
Yeah.
And they don't take them out in weather, they don't use them. You can go to some lovely passes in Switzerland, France, anywhere in Europe that has lovely passes, and you've got your Ferraris, your McLarens, your Porsches. They're all out there, perhaps sliding a little bit because they're getting close to the permissible speed limit and safe speeds that can go around the bends, because we are all about safety and adhering to the rules here.
Absolutely.
But you won't see a Lamborghini doing that.
That's true.
They are just show-off cars, apart from the ones that come here.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I don't expect anybody to take it on board.
No,
Or personally.
no. Please don't take it personally.
But he will meet you in the car park at the next Ignition
Yes.
event.
I'll chirp in then. So I had a Gallardo, and I bought it when I wasn't very well, which I guess says a lot. I was quite unwell for a period of time last year, but I'd sold my other cars. I'd sold 2 cars, and I was planning on buying something to replace it. I nearly bought a really, really tidy 360, and I was looking at a few different things. And I saw this Gallardo. I went and had a go in one, and it was the early 5-litre car. It was an E-gear. I thought the engine was amazing. It was in that pearlescent yellow colour, and I saw it in the flesh. I thought that car is incredible, and the value for money was really good. But I really hated the gearbox, so I was looking for either a manual one. I think you and me went and looked at a black manual car, didn't we? Yeah, at Hexagon. It was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I'd seen recently that they bought the car off of collecting cars for like £40,000 less than what they were selling it for, and I just couldn't do it. But then I found this car up in Scotland, which was a later LP car. It was a 5.2. You came with me to get it, didn't you,
Yeah.
Chris? Near between Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah, in the
wasn't it?
middle. Yeah.
But the experience of owning it was really interesting because, I was quite excited to go and pick it up, and we drove it back. It's very, very fast, very, very competent. I was surprised how quiet it was, and I think that's because it was the later,
It's more Audi-ish.
yeah, that sort of 5.2 engine. I think the earlier engine, was developed with Lamborghini and Cosworth, and it was a lot more like,
Raucous.
and they quieted that down a lot. I think it's to do with emissions and possibly reliability as well, I don't know. And the later one was much more powerful, but it was much smoother as well. But the thing I found really strange about owning it was that my friends and the car community didn't really like it very much. I'm not sure what that was, and I guess I probably felt the same about it some way. And the people that did like it were not car enthusiasts generally. That was my experience of owning that car. And you'd be driving down the motorway at the speed limit, just cruising along, minding your own business, and you'd have people making hand gestures at
Well,
you.
we had it on the way back, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
It's
yeah.
like just, it was
for
just
nothing.
bizarre.
For
Perhaps they
absolutely.
knew you, Chris.
Well,
maybe.
yeah, that's
I'll never
understandable.
forget that trip to a Peak District when we
Yeah.
had so much negative attention, and it just ruined.
It gets the
ruined
wrong
day, really.
attention as well.
Yeah, but there's no reason why that car shouldn't be a car enthusiast car, should it? It was great to drive, makes a good noise, you know. But I don't know. I just don't know what. There was something about it, and I sold it very quickly for a huge loss.
They're too loud, I think, is part of it. They
Yeah.
come across as too loud.
Well, here's an
Just brash,
interesting
Yeah.
comparison. So, you were with me when we went and picked up the replacement, which is my
Yeah.
green 308. We drive down to London in the Lambo to part exchange this against this, and you're getting one hand gesture, and on the way back in the green Ferrari, you're getting a completely different set of hand gestures, and it was bizarre. And the funny, I wondered if it was to do with jealousy or whatever. But the green 308 was a lot more expensive than the Gallardo was. So I don't know, but that was my sort of observation of it. And as Phil's quite rightly said, you don't see Lamborghinis being used very much, and all the mileage on them are incredibly
They're
low.
not fragile cars.
Not
You
at
spend
all.
a £250,000 on one.
Yeah, yeah,
And don't use it.
absolutely.
So
The
for-
guy you bought yours from.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Garage
what they
full of
were,
them,
but
didn't
a
they?
garage full of them.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah, he's a fascinating bloke. And yeah, it's interesting. But I would say that the older ones,
Well, things like Diablos and things like that.
yeah, Diablo's probably the end of it, and Countach's,
I
and
mean, you've got
Yeah.
Countach on the wall.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
that's
poster
definitely
card,
a
isn't
car
it?
guy's car, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I feel really split by it because I think they're like a piece of art on the road, and like car people should. You look at it, it's gorgeous, whichever way you look at it, and I don't know why. I'm not sure. I feel like as time's gone on and they're getting more angled and more sort of extreme, it's attracting a different type of person. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I actually watched the Lamborghini film at the weekend, just by chance,
Yeah.
before I knew about.
It was a brilliant piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, it was a poor quality film.
Yeah.
Would be a fair way to put it.
Yeah.
But one thing I picked up on was we were talking about the Miura and how it's in an art museum and it's
Yeah.
been described
It is
as
the most beautiful car.
It's
ever
gorgeous,
made.
isn't
And
it?
it
Absolutely
really is,
gorgeous.
isn't it?
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
So I think when you look at the older Lamborghinis, the story, the passion, sort of the love of a car, I think that's really clear. Maybe it's post Audi. I think it's one of the first things I picked up on in your Gallardo is I had a Audi A3 company car 15 years ago, something like that. And I got into the Lamborghini and was like, wow, it's the moment, first time I'd ever driven a Lamborghini. Got in it, really excited, looked straight in front, and there's an Audi A3 steering wheel with a Lamborghini badge on it. And
And the switch gears all
it's
Audi.
It's all Audi, yeah. And I don't know, just somehow with Ferrari, you feel like it's all bespoke, it's all really special. I'm not saying it all is, but that's how it feels.
Did your Lamborghini ever break down on you? Apart from not being able to refuel it?
No. See, it's just not authentically
No,
Italian,
exactly.
is it?
That's where I come from.
I think the Urus for me as well.
I know.
I think for me, Lamborghini lost its way with the Urus. Just
Lamborghini should never have done an SUV.
Well, it's interesting because obviously Ferrari have now as well. But I think the difference is you'll never see a Ferrari without a Ferrari engine in it. And Lambo, they're sharing engines with Audis. It's not the same kind of thing, is it?
No.
What do you think, Chris?
Certainly modern, I think, has lost it. But then you still look at some of the engine. If you look at how lightweight and how finicky some of the suspension was, even on yours, you wouldn't even. I mean, having some experience in kit cars, we put heavier duty stuff on kit cars and things compared to that. So a little bit when you look under the covers, maybe, but it's just not. I just don't think you get enthusiasts buying them nowadays.
Great cars, though. That's the frustrating thing, I
Yeah.
guess, isn't it? Here's a question, though. So we talked about Audi as being the problem. Do you think it'd be a different brand if BMW bought it?
I think BMW.
I think it'd be just as bad.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think BMW is much more passionate than Audi, though, aren't they? To me, I don't know. It's funny because
But
I'm a
it's still
VW fan,
cross-brand,
but
cross-sharing.
Yeah.
I just feel like BMW, if you take an Audi RS5 against a BMW M2 like yours, something like that, out of the two of them, the BMW is going to be the driver's car, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the people you're going to meet they're going to be more traditionally the driving enthusiast type people that that we would come across more, I would say. I'm not saying that Audis are not.
No.
I had an RS5, you know,
There's
they're
quite
a
a
great
following
car.
in that field.
There is, but I think there's a, and I wonder whether if BMW took over and ran Lamborghini, whether they'd make a completely different type of car. I don't know.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because obviously VW own Lamborghini, and VW also own Bentley
And Porsche.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
both of those
Yeah.
are, you know, in their own sectors. I know Bentley's not a driver's car, but as a luxury car, they're brilliant, aren't they? So it's funny that they've missed the boat slightly with Lamborghini, in my opinion.
Have they?
They've kept the branding in Lamborghini, haven't they? It is still.
Well, they sell a lot of them, don't they?
Yeah,
So
and
maybe
the
they
branding is still that.
they know their customers. Maybe I don't know.
Extravagant, aren't they?
I mean, yours is, I'm pretty sure that the underpinnings are pretty much the same as
It's an
Ferraris.
RSQ8, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think underneath.
And I'm pretty sure the underpinnings share with a few cars.
Yeah.
Maybe even a VW Touareg. And
I think there's a lot of platform sharing goes on, but it makes sense from a manufacturer's
of
point
course,
view.
but
Why reinvent something that's been invented?
I'm saying it's
Yeah.
not a. I think it takes away the passion, doesn't it? If you've got
Well, again, going back to Ferrari. Ferrari's not showing parts. Well, Maserati to some
Might
degree,
get some
maybe.
Fiat switchgear inside.
Ah, it might work then.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think it's a shame because we looked at that black 5-litre Gallardo, didn't we, the manual
Yeah,
gearbox? And I
beautiful.
think if I'd bought that, I think I'd felt very different about it. I think it's something to do with the later car, with the e-gear, the colour, yellow.
What really just destroyed it for me was partly how you felt with other people with that car. It just took everything away from it. I mean, we parked down in Stamford that one evening. Yeah. And I think that was the turning point. You
Yeah.
hadn't had it very long.
There was about 20 kids running at
Yeah,
it.
and it was just like, it just had the wrong, everything was just wrong about that picture. From a car enthusiast perspective, it was
You
just,
don't want that level of attention, do you?
I mean, it was nice to the kids, but they weren't interested in the fact of what it was or anything.
They just
It was
wanted
the
you
fact
to-
that it was a suit, you know.
They were shouting Revit at
Yeah.
you, weren't they?
And I think going back to your 348, that
Yeah.
got really positive attention.
It did.
And it was a bright red Ferrari. I wonder if it's also slightly an age thing. I do
Classics.
wonder if it's, you know, if you're talking about a 30, 40-year-old car, it's not appealing to a sort of showy, look
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's a lot of truth in that. So, yeah, interesting. So I think our general consensus is it's not the obvious enthusiast brand. I think that's why you see a
I
lot
think
of
it's
Porsches.
no longer an enthusiast
Yes.
brand. It has been.
Well, it's pretty much started as one,
Yeah.
you know.
What
Yeah.
about, I think there's one exception for me, nearly current Lamborghini. Is it the Sturato?
Yeah.
I think they're quite cool.
Yeah.
Are you buying
Just
one
a
there?
bit different. I'm about 300 grand short. But
He's as likely to buy that next week as any other car he takes us, to be fair.
So, you don't need your house, you've got your T4.
true.
So what's stopping you?
T4 and a Sturato.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Okay, good. So I'm going to move these around a little bit because I think it will sound a bit it'll work a bit better. We don't want to do too many of the same type of subjects at once. So last week we did a bit of a car shopping chat about things we were looking at for sale in the classifieds. We tried to mix it up a bit to make it a bit more interesting. You can debate whether it's worked or not. So, thanks, Ed. So we come up with a bit of a challenge that we're going to rotate around us and do each week. So this is the idea. One of us has got to choose a road trip that we want to go on, a specific road, a specific location, a route, whatever it might be. And we've got to pick a car to go in. And then the rest of us have got to find a complementary vehicle or something that provides a similar experience or has some kind of link to that car, but for 3 different price points. One of them is 0 to 25,000, one is 25,000 to 50,000, and one is 50 to 100. And the idea is that, if your dream car might be something that's £1 million, can you buy something like this for £25,000? And we thought that might make for quite an interesting conversation point. Until we got Ed to pick the car for the starting point. So Ed, what have you chosen for your road trip and car?
I thought it'd be fun to make it difficult for
Thank
the
you.
other guys.
Yeah.
So I started off, I was driving back from Scotland last night and I was debating cars which I'd pick, and I was thinking about the obvious cars, Ferraris, was contemplating certain Aston Martins, and certain classic cars. And then I started thinking about cars that I've really enjoyed over my driving career. And
Not the Lambo or the Ferrari.
no, I started at the beginning. I thought, my first car, that was a great car. And it was a car that actually was the first car my parents bought brand new, a 1 litre VW Polo, which had been kept in a barn for maybe 5 years before I learned to drive, because they wanted me to have a car which I knew was safe, because obviously I'd look after it being a 17-year-old boy. So I got a 1 litre Polo, and I remember that sort of freedom and sense of adventure I got from this car. I loved it, you know. And at the time, I think always your first car, you think it's quick. And
Wasn't technically the first car you got freedom with, was it?
maybe
we'll
not.
talk about that another day.
The legal implications there.
But yeah, so this 1 litre Polo I thought was great, and you know, you always believe it's faster than it actually is. All 45 horsepower, I think it was, on this Mark II Polo. But I always pined, like I guess a lot of people do with their first cars. I always pined for a more powerful option, which was the Polo G40. Quite a power horse. It had, I think it was 113 horsepower. So I decided it'd be irritating for Lewis if I chose a 113 horsepower Polo as my dream car. So therefore I've got a Polo G40, and then I started thinking about sort of that sense of freedom of youth and how like I like the adventure. And I was thinking about other times that I've had that sort of sense of adventure. And again, not in a particularly car guy way, but another hobby of mine is I quite enjoy long distance cycling. So I do an annual cycling trip, generally around Europe. And about 5 years ago, me and my friend cycled to Sweden for a charity, and we cycled to Sweden in 6 days, and we wild camped along the
What was
way.
the charity, Ed?
It was Samaritans.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, and if anyone ever wants to fundraise for Samaritans, it's always a good one to fundraise for. So we cycled to Sweden, and it was a great sense of adventure. You raised money for charity, and it felt like we were doing something constructive. But when we got to Sweden, I remember thinking I wanted to keep going, and I wanted to go up into Norway. I know, Chris, you've done it recently in your camper van. So I thought the idea of a camping trip, because we wild camped on our trip to Sweden, because we never knew where we were going to get to each night, and I liked the idea of taking a Polo G40, living out my youth flat out on the roads going to Sweden and Norway, and that sense of adventure. So yeah, my car is a VW Polo G40. I'd probably uprate the supercharger with a smaller pulley and a big intercooler, and maybe you get out to 130 horsepower. So that's sort of where you're at.
Can you handle that sort of thing?
Maybe we'll have to see. And yeah, go to the top of Norway.
So what sort of price would we be paying for this G40 that you're doing dream kid trip in?
There's only one for sale currently in the UK, which needs quite a bit of work. That's about 5,000. I've seen tidy ones for sort of 12 to 18,000,
Right.
Okay.
and that's the dream.
Thanks. Aspirational as usual, Ed. That's good. So, I mean, he's made this difficult for me, and you know, I've got the lower end budget, so I'll start. What could I get for £25,000 that would be similar? I mean, to start off with, I could buy a Polo G40, and I've won, haven't I? I mean, I've got the exact same car, but no, I didn't start with that. I was trying to work out what it was specifically about the Polo G40 that was so good. And I was looking through the stats, you know, all 0-60 in just under 9 seconds. Top speed of 113 miles an hour.
120.
Oh, yeah. Well, are you getting the early generation or the later one, though? Because there's a difference, wasn't there? You know, one's got round headlights, one's got squared ones, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a later one.
Be a later one. They look better, to be fair. I agree.
On the rest of the Polos.
You'd go for that. I was quite impressed looking at the specs of how little power they managed to get out of the supercharged engine. So it's a 1.3 litre supercharged engine with 113 brake horsepower, which is 86 horsepower per litre for specific output for a forced induction engine. Like at the same time, Honda were doing 100 horsepower per litre with no turbos, no superchargers, nothing. So that's good. So I was like, oh, you know, 25 grand. I mean, it turns out I could buy any of its competitors for 25 grand. So at the time, XR2s, Fiat Uno turbos, Renault 5 GT turbos, Lancia Delta HF turbos. So there's a whole range of cars I could have chosen from. But I kind of decided they're all CAC, and that's not what I want really. So I was trying to think outside the box then. How can I link something? And he was talking about your first car, weren't you? And what your aspiration was at that time. Well, my first car was also a Polo, but because of that, I really didn't want one. so I was thinking, you know, could I buy an Audi R8 or something like that? And
An MR2?
Well, yeah, you know, maybe. I thought about a 355 Ferrari kit car based on an MR2 is probably something that when I was younger I would have been up for. I started thinking then about movie cars, so for like Phil it'll be like the Aston Martin DB5 from the first James Bond film when he was a kid. But when I was 20, that Transformers film came out, do you remember? And Bumblebee was the Camaro, and I thought, but I did find a Camaro, but it was a V6. Nobody wants a V6 for 25 grand. You can get the V8 ones for sort of in budget. No. So I think I would buy, in all seriousness, a Lancia Delta HF Turbo. So I can't afford an Integrale. The HF Turbo is a 1.6 turbo model. It's kind of the interior looks a bit like the Integrale. It predates Integrale. I like Italian cars. I think that's what I'll go for. I found one, I think, for about 11, 12 grand. I'll post the advert up. You'll see it now. But yeah, so that's me. So I'm looking forward. Chris, 25 to 50.
I'm about to send you what it is.
But Phil's, I'm really looking forward to. I'm guessing he's hoping like Elton John had a Fiat Uno or something. That's the only way you're going to spend 50 to 100 grand on something similar. But anyway, Chris, what are you going for?
So it was a challenge. I mean, you've mentioned some of the options already because, to be truthfully honest, I had 25 to 50k, so that's an awful lot of money to look at. So sort of went through, Peugeot 103 Rally type of thing. I had a Peugeot 106 brand new, which was a little bit later, a little bit more powerful as well.
Yeah, it's different.
A bit more modern.
Yeah.
Sort of another generation. Yeah. So had a look around, Peugeot 205 GTI, those type of sort of hot hatches. But in the end, settled in fact, a car I probably would have quite liked to have owned, probably for a week or two, then wanted to get rid of it. So I went for a Renault 5 Turbo. And I managed to find one of two still available with the full body kit, which came in, I think, about £43,000 at the moment.
That was a special dimmer one or something,
wasn't it? Yes, so there was only 10 originally, I think, which had the body kit on it, because it's not, obviously, I really like the early one, which was rear-wheel drive mid-engine type
they're
thing.
mega money.
This is still, obviously, front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And you know what, scary enough? Forced induction, but scarily, not much more than the G40, power-wise.
We're about 130, weren't they?
Yeah, if that, about 120, I think, so not much more. And slightly lighter, quicker 0 to 60, which is what it's all about.
So £43,000.
But I'll have my tiny little pulley on my supercar.
That makes all the difference.
I just turn up the boost.
You've got to ask the question, though, haven't you? Would you actually spend £43,000?
No, not at all. And I could buy them for 15.
Yeah.
So,
right, okay.
But this was.
Would you spend 15 on one?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I used to quite like. I mean, my Peugeot 106 was one of the best cars I.
Would you buy that or a 996?
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Or it's.
Yeah.
I would like to, as I say, I'd like to own one. Would I want to keep it? No.
Yeah,
I want to experience one.
Oh, what were you saying?
I was going to say, there's a lot of 80s hot hatches I would like to own, genuinely, like 205 GTIs, probably a Mark II Golf GTI. I would quite like a Polo G40, but really this was just to wind up the other guys. Yeah.
But when you got money, it's quite easy. It was actually, you've got such a wide window when you're going against something like that to get something. I mean, I was looking at something which was ideally front-wheel drive, similar sort of power, because we've done road trips, and when you go on road trips, it's always nice to have the faster car, but also then you then just leave people.
It's nice to be similar.
It's nice to be similar.
Definitely.
I mean,
that's the point of this challenge.
Ferrari Evo 2 even within my budget, but that's a bit. I mean, if it's winter, every single time I'll have one of them, and you'll get stuck everywhere.
I think the point that I find really hard with these cars is I love the idea of them, but I just don't think that who's paying like nearly £50,000 for them. They must be off their rocker. There's so many good cars.
Well, people are.
So many good cars for that. It's like fast forwards.
It goes back to where I started with this. People trying to relive their youth.
Yeah.
If you're a sort of wealthy banker and
you'd have to be a banker, wouldn't you, to spend that?
Yeah, really.
So Phil, have you found Elton John's Fiat Uno?
I don't know Elton John's Fiat Uno, but I'd just like to start with, I didn't even consider my first car. As keeps repeatedly getting
Model T.
I am generation a year or two older than you. So my Marina Coupe would not have been
have a piano on the roof.
complimentary car for this expedition. So I totally ignored the brief altogether.
Can I just take you back to the first podcast when I mentioned that Phil likes to do his own thing?
Valid.
I totally ignored the brief altogether and thought I'd just find a car that would help with these chaps' vintage cars that are going to break down on the trip. And it really stems from a very, very spontaneous road trip that we did last year or the year before, I can't remember exactly when. Lewis gave me a telephone call and said, "Do you fancy coming to see my brother for breakfast tomorrow?" Yeah, sounds great, I thought. And we ummed and ahed about it, and we chatted briefly, and within a few hours we were on the Channel Tunnel crossing to Dijon. Obviously, with our organisational skills, we never made it to Dijon to meet for breakfast, so we had to continue to Spain to meet his brother, which was great. But the car we did it in was a Maserati. Was it Gran Turismo one?
Gran Sport.
Is it Gran Turismo MC Stradale?
MC
Yeah.
Stradale,
Yeah.
So,
The bad Strad,
the bad Strad.
which is another chat,
has
isn't
a-
it?
There's another whole.
It has a history in itself, and it's probably a whole episode of
Yeah, yeah,
talking bollocks.
yeah.
So I've chosen a car that is in the price range, albeit it leaves me £50 left over. £99,500 for this, albeit a V6, not a V8 like the bad Strad. V6 Gran Turismo Trofeo, top speed of 199 mile an hour, so I can get between you very quickly for attending with my Spanish.
Are you going to be able to keep up with the Polo?
Whoa.
And as a resident mechanic, you can fix my supercharger.
I can bolt your pulley back on board.
You're buying a Maserati though, as the reliable
full
car.
car.
There's another reason.
Because Lewis has got
adding
one.
to the spice. I've recently been on holiday twice this year to Italy, and it's become my favourite holiday destination. So I thought, let's be patriotic and buy an Italian car.
Good point. As somebody who's owned quite a few Maseratis, I'm not sure that it as the reliable car to help us fix ours is a great
I don't
choice.
know.
But
My French car, it probably is more reliable actually.
well, I've got an Italian car and I've had a Lancia Delta before, and it was on the road once in the 6 months I had it. So yeah,
But that was quite an epic trip out in it actually when it didn't work.
yeah, it didn't really work, did it? But yeah.
To be fair, we probably won't be getting to Norway, will we? I can't.
No.
The Polo G40 was notoriously unreliable as well.
Yeah, we won't get to Dover, will we? So,
Sorry,
no. But okay, good. Okay, well, that was interesting. So next week, who wants to choose the car and the trip? Who wants to have a go?
I think you should, Phil.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think you
More
should.
than happy to do that.
So,
Yes, because
And then,
I had to think actually.
so I had the cheapest budget, so I'm going to go for the expensive budget this time. You didn't have one, so what one do you? Do you want to go for the 25 to 50 or the 0 to 25, Ed? What do you want to go for?
But he doesn't have a budget, does he?
No.
He won't have a budget. Okay.
I feel like I always lean towards the cheaper cars, so this time I'm going to push the budget and go 25 to 50.
Flippin' heck. Oh, that will be interesting
So
to
I'll have
see.
the lower one.
How many is he going to buy? You're not allowed to
Can
buy
I buy
5.
multiple cars?
How many are you going to talk about before you
There'll be at least 50 on my brief.
The whole episode next week is Ed talking about which cars he's going to buy.
My virtual garage.
Okay, we're all right with that then?
Yeah.
That's for that one for next week. Okay. So, next subject, interesting one. The world's changing a lot with tech, isn't it? And the advent of AI has been quite a big deal across the world. People are using it for really useful things like editing photos of their friends and creating cheap birthday cards and stuff like that. But actually, I've found using AI in my work environment as an engineer quite useful. And I've had some experience working on cars. So we've sort of entitled this section, ChatGPT Fixes Ferrari, Can AI Help You Work on Your Cars? And we've all had a bit of experience out of this. And we just thought it'd be an interesting sort of conversation piece, really. Now, Phil is a professional mechanic and runs a garage. You're not a mechanic anymore, are you? You sort of sit at a desk and push pens around, don't you? But used to be a mechanic on his Model T when he bought that new. And yeah, I think there's a bit of change. So we were on a trip recently, weren't we? We went to Sardinia. One of your Sardinia trips this year. And I was in my old 308. And before we went, it was a right pain in the backside, wasn't it? There were so many things going wrong with it. And one of the things that failed like 2 days before we went was the fuel pump, wasn't it? Changed the fuel pump, seemed to be fine. Halfway down Route Napoleon's car starts misfiring. We just get off the motorway onto the nice roads, and that's where it starts misfiring. And we couldn't track it down. It was very erratic. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. And we were playing with it all week, and I was taking the ignition apart and I had brought a load of spare components with me. We were changing stuff over every day, weren't we? And I got so sick of it, I was like, well, let's give ChatGPT a try, because I was using it to translate when I was speaking to mechanics and local garages, see if they had parts. And I told it that I'd recently changed this fuel pump, and that the old one I took off had this little bit of sort of looked like a plastic capacitor or something on the side of the engine.
It was a capacitor.
It was a capacitor on the side of the fuel pump, wasn't it? Now, when I took that off, I spoke to a few Ferrari specialists, including the people I bought the pumps from, and nobody had any idea what it was and said, oh, don't worry about it. ChatGPT immediately identified that as a capacitor, and it knew that in period these fuel pumps caused electromagnetic interference, and as an aftermarket thing, Ferrari fitted these capacitors. It was able to give me a spec of the capacitor, told me where I could find a shop where I could buy one, gave me a paragraph in Italian to give to the guy in the shop, which meant I got the capacitor, got a soldering iron, sat in my hotel room, soldered up a little circuit, put it on the car, worked all the way home. That was, pretty amazing. So from that perspective, I thought it was quite good. But I don't know, have any of you guys had much experience with it?
Mine's primarily been on your 308.
Yeah.
It's not been great for, I guess the only car I've used it on is my camper van, and it's pretty useless.
Yeah.
But then you don't find an awful lot of information. It's a bit like YouTube. When we've done bits on previous with your cars and things, you can always find a guide of some description on YouTube, or you can find somebody who's got a wiring diagram or something. It's not the most interesting, but on the VW, on my T6, very little information exists out there. So of course it's got nothing to work with.
I'd like to say that and I hope none of my customers are watching this. I'd just like to say I find
It's unlikely there's only 30 viewings.
I find that it can be quite patronising. Not the actual ChatGPT itself, or the platform that is. The customers that have used it, more often than not, they're even older than me, Lewis, and they've no idea
still
how to
alive.
actually use ChatGPT or any other AI platforms. There are other AI platforms out there. They don't really know how to use it, so they've asked it, they've treated it a bit like Google, and just hope that it comes up with the right things. But if they're not specific enough with the question that they ask in the first instance, they're only getting a very generic answer back, which doesn't always apply to their car. So they're coming in with a Nissan Qashqai that is obviously diesel and doesn't run very well because they never do. And they've already diagnosed that it's the rear boot latch that's probably the fault, because they've asked ChatGPT incorrectly to assist them. So on that basis, I don't find it at the minute particularly useful from my
Yeah, I understand
business.
I agree with what you're saying about. I found that when I've used it, it's got to have a really clear brief. And as you all know, I've got a really nice BMW 330 convertible.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And
We love that car.
and I've had some problems. You'll be upset to hear with the power folding roof recently.
So it's not a convertible?
No, it's a hard top without any driving dynamics.
It's a lot heavier, at least.
It's a lot heavier, 1,500 kilos.
Yeah.
And I've used ChatGPT to try and fault find, and I've found that I've ended up buying a lot of parts which haven't been me. And you basically have to tell it everything you've already done, which it's told it, and then it keeps on throwing out something new. And
So it's like going to Phil's garage then.
The parts cannon.
So yeah, I think it's really partly the information you give it, and then also, I guess, like you said, the information it's drawing off. If the information's rubbish, it's throwing out rubbish.
I mean, we've had an example where you've even had an argument where you've told it is actually wrong.
It doesn't sound like me, does it?
No, but the prime example was you told it about it was giving you information for a different engine.
Yeah.
Even so, you were particularly specific in what you gave it.
That was on the GTA, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. I think the problem with the GTA, there's an Alfa Romeo 147 GTA. It's got the 3.2 litre Busso in it, but there's other Alfas with 3.2 litre V6s that have got a completely different firing order. And what it was doing was reading lots of data online and coming up with an answer, because it's not a search engine. It sort of tries to interpret stuff, doesn't it? It'll create its own answer. And it was wrong, and it would not have it. And I think the reason it was fine on the Ferrari was because there probably wasn't a lot of information online to contradict. There was probably one place that they found that from, and it could be more certain. Whereas, I was having an argument with it about the firing order, and it actually made me time the engine up wrong first time round.
Because Google
So
has.
you could argue with your own shadow. most of the time.
Yeah.
Because Google has AI notebooks, and you can give it YouTube videos, you can give it documentation, everything, and then it will only use that as its source of learning. So that but it's not going to be able to troubleshoot something unless that information is within. So it's not unless you give it forums, because forums obviously at some stage will be pretty useful. I think that's also where your Ferrari came in very well. The
Good
information
forum
on
info.
them was very precise, should I say?
Yeah.
And you didn't have another 600-700 people saying, a bit like your example, where it's the boot latch causing your ignition failure or something, because that's what someone else has told them, and they've tried it and it just magically fixed it one day. The Ferrari's a bit more
I think
particular.
really AI is, we're only using the tip of the iceberg.
It's
There's a lot
infancy,
more.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I think, I mean,
it's just another word for machine learning at the end of the day.
yeah, I mean, I take it out of the car environment. Sorry, you might find this interesting. I know. So I work as an engineer on a daily basis, and I find it quite useful to help me in my job. But it only really helps me with things I already know. So you have to know what you're doing.
I agree.
You know, and you ask it for backup on your own thought process, to check what you're thinking. But
Good for looking at regs and things like
yeah,
that.
brilliant for that. I
Regs.
sometimes, check calculations, check documents, whatever. It's great for that. But if we've got, a trainee in the office, if they were to use it, and they do sometimes, it's quite dangerous because it gives them confidence beyond their experience and skill set. Because you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, but you need to know if that answer's maybe wrong.
You've got to be critical of the
Yeah,
answer.
you have. Yeah, so I guess that if you know what you're looking at, you know what you're doing on a car. ChatGPT can actually be a really useful tool, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can make you a
Very
tool.
misleading.
Does
Yeah.
ChatGPT still give you the? Because I haven't used ChatGPT for a while. I've been using things like Gemini and some other ones. But does it still give you the sources of where it's got its information?
You can
Does
ask
Does
it
it
for
still
it.
tag
Yeah.
the
It still
sources?
does
Yeah.
at the end, yeah.
Yeah. I found the latest version of it got a bit rubbish for a while, and then I've gone back to using the previous iteration of it. The version 5 I didn't think was very good. But
I know I've personally been doing stuff in ChatGPT and checking it in Copilot
yeah,
and Gemini.
yeah, you kind of have to do that. Yeah, I found the Google one is a bit like a search engine though. I don't know whether that's your experience of it. But
There are different. You can
Right.
change what engine it's using. So,
Well,
but
just using
recently, I reckon you could just go. I mean, the problem is Google Search partly uses it now,
Yeah, it
so
does,
it does
yeah.
return quite a bit of just what a search engine would.
Okay. Good. Well, there was maybe a bit of a sidetrack there, but something you guys might find interesting. So, last subject of the evening. This one might be interesting. So, some of you guys watching this might be aware that we run a little event called Ignition Cars and Coffee. It's in Stamford once a month, and a lot of the time we're doing it, we get a lot of questions. What is this place? How did it start? And we thought that'd be an interesting sort of conversation point. So I guess me and Ed have been involved in it the longest, and then Chris was joining in for quite early on, and then Phil joined us at a later date. So
By accident, I might add.
yeah, by accident, yeah. We obviously
never left.
regret it a bit, don't we? But there's a story behind it, and I guess it's trying to figure that out. So how did it start?
Did it actually? Did the idea come up to do this?
Over 3 years now, isn't it? Me and Lewis were on a beach. Was it in Palamos, in Spain?
Yeah, Catalonia, northern Spain.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we started talking about. To be honest, it came about from a conversation about money, and we started talking about how you could make real money. And
Who was making the money?
this wasn't really ignition. And we started talking, and we decided that real money was founded from starting a religion.
Yeah, we were talking about Scientology, weren't we?
We were, yeah. The conversation started off with Scientology and how the founders of Scientology have also made a lot of money.
Billionaires.
We talked about becoming Pastafarians in the past.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we then started joking about if we set up a car religion, and I think that's when we agreed that it'd be called Ignition. And then I think reality struck home. We'd been to Cafe Machine as well, hadn't we? And I think we'd done some sort of fag packet maths. And
Decided well, they're all
we
millionaires.
decided they made a fortune. Turns out they don't make a penny.
no, you lose a lot though.
But I think that's where the idea was born.
Yeah, so yeah, my recollection was we were sat on the beach trying to work out like how to not go back to work, basically, weren't we? And like, how can we make some serious cash? And we thought, yeah, we'll start a religion. That makes sense. Car religion, church, we liked the idea of doing like a Sunday service with what was it we were going to do?
I don't think that's the audience.
You were very keen on dressing up as a priest, I might say. I think you'd be good at it. But we were going to do confession, weren't we? Car confessions.
Yeah.
And put a confession booth, and people come in like, bless you, my child. And so yeah, that was kind of how it started as a bit of a joke, didn't it?
Yeah.
The whole ignition thing, I'd kind
Has
of...
it got any better?
It's still a bit of a joke.
Just not funny.
The whole ignition thing, I'd been arranging like car clubs and days out and driving days for quite a long time, and I always branded it as sort of ignition, motor club, ignition drivers club, whatever, just as a bit of a I always wanted to do something. When I was younger, I had this idea when we were sort of teenagers driving around in cars that it'd be nice to have, be able to meet up and go for breakfast on a Saturday morning as car people, and have somewhere you could hang around and, not disturb the general public, because they all think you're sad as anything, don't they? Just they don't understand you at all. So that was kind of where I sort of Caffeine Machine had developed in the background at the time, like you say. I think we sat there and worked out they must be making like 50 grand a weekend or something like that, wasn't it? Which maybe they do. They probably do. They're probably the only one that make money out of this of anyone, was my thoughts. And then we sort of came back and we joked about it a lot, didn't we?
We did, and then we looked at an old quarry, didn't we, in the Peak District? I think that's probably where it started.
You found an old quarry.
Peak District was a good place to go, because from my experience,
Because the roads, obviously we thought it was between the
It was a destination, wasn't it?
We always used to go driving there, didn't
Yeah.
we? So we thought we'd drive up there a lot, so other people must drive up there a lot, and then therefore it makes sense to have a car venue there.
I mean, a bit of a sign was the fact that we never saw any flash cars. No. We were driving around. We thought we must just not seen them.
Land Rovers and John Deere's up there.
Yeah, a lot of Kias. But I wanted to do something local, because just for ease, for business and everything. But then you found a cafe to rent, didn't you?
Yep. And we got on very well with the landlord, didn't we?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, well, to be fair, when we first... So you found a cafe to rent.
Yep.
Did you have to do much to it to turn it into a car venue?
Yes,
Yeah,
We'll do a bit of a montage in the background so you can see what we had to do. But it was a pretty dumpy cafe. It was backed onto a paint-a-pot wellbeing centre, which was interesting.
Full of Ferraris.
Yeah. So
But it was 30 yards from the Peak District National Park.
It was,
wasn't it? Which
on the
meant
main
we got away
road.
from all the planning constraints of
Yeah.
the Peak District.
on a main road, so good for like visibility and everything. And the guys, one of the things we were always worried about was when we went to meet landlords about it, was that whenever you say cars, people are like, we don't want that, But the guys who owned it were actually car guys, weren't they? They had a unit round the back, and they had old Ferraris and Bentleys and all sorts in there, didn't they?
Bristol.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And we went out for lunch with them. Do you remember?
We did.
Really decent, seemed really decent, all that kind of thing. And
We paid, but
yeah,
kind of a fee.
and so we ended up taking on a lease and kitting the building out, didn't we? And setting up there, and the fit out.
So how did you decide what you were going to put in it to make it into a venue that's going to attract car people? Or how did you...
It was
how
an
did you
excuse for
initially-
Lewis to buy more cars.
How did you initially try and attract car people?
Bought 2 cars to put on display inside.
We tried to film it like a garage, didn't we?
Yeah, we wanted here.
Like the wallpaper.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the same
it's the same
wallpaper actually.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to. I think we had a budget of 25 grand or something to set it up to get the.
It's a good job they didn't buy a G40 in this.
Yeah, that's right. We'd already had 20 then. To fit it out, and then we had a bit of money in the pot to get it running and operational, and we worked like our socks off for 2 months fitting it out, because we took it on in November, something like that. And I remember we met with the landlord, and they said, "Why don't you open for Christmas?" And I was like, "You guys don't know me very well. I'm quite impulsive." It's like, yes, of course we should open for Christmas. So we're sort of rushing out like crazy, opening for Christmas. And the next time we see them, they're like, "Why are you working so hard to open for Christmas? And there's nothing on in the Peak District. Nobody will come." But
And we also thought we should sell coffee for £1 a cup, didn't we?
he thought we should
Even
be
though the
competing
cost
with.
for a coffee was actually more than that.
He thought we should compete with Greg's, didn't he? But we wanted to do it high quality. We wanted to attract the right people. We fitted it out. We bought all these sofas, and we I bought a.
Drove all over the UK for him, didn't we?
We did. We had a road trip to buy sofas for people.
Yeah,
Remember
leave
that
that
guy's house with that guy's unit with all that old stuff
Yeah.
in there that we bought? I think we bought these from, didn't we? And I remember painting the ceiling. I got complete. I looked like a Smurf afterwards. All the
Climbing
blue
up on the
paint.
site to put a sign up.
Yeah, climbing up the wall to put a sign up.
Chinese Smurf.
Yeah, Chinese, Japanese.
Cutting out the arch without any permission.
Yeah, him being annoyed, but then secretly agreeing it looked better. Yeah, it was interesting days, and I mean we'd never run a cafe before. We didn't really want to run a cafe, did we? We wanted to run a car venue.
No, I think that was a bit of a wake-up call. I don't
Did
think...
earn you the fortune that you'd hoped for on the beach?
I'm retired now and loaded. Yeah,
That's interesting.
as you know well. No, and it turned out that the landlord is the old boy was I think he had an interesting checkered past when you started looking into it. There was lots of businesses registered in his name that no longer exist.
He had a bit of a temper, didn't he?
He had a bit of a temper, but I mean, he was a grafter. He'd done well, no doubt. But I think his sort of idea of how many car people were in the Peak District was possibly slightly exaggerated from the reality. But we opened on 1st of January, didn't we?
We did.
I got locked out of my.
Second.
It was the bank
yeah.
holiday. It was the bank
Yeah.
holiday. I got locked out of my car just before it opened. Chris had to break into it for me because it was running.
So if you ever get locked out your Ferrari, off you go,
Yeah,
man.
Ferrari
Right from
348. Yeah, that makes sense. Left around the back running and no one could get into it. But the car community came out in force, didn't they? To
They did,
support
yeah.
us. Like
Phenomenal.
it was
actually.
packed, wasn't it? We only had like 30 parking spaces, didn't we?
We did, and
I
we had
imagine
about
that was
200
quite hard
cars.
to police because I do the parking here, and I imagine having only a few spaces.
It was.
Also,
immense.
Paint a Pot used to get quiet.
So there's a good story about Paint Pot, wasn't there? So before we started doing it up, when we heard that there was going to be a Paint Pot place at the back, our biggest nightmare was someone parking their pride and joy, coming in a McLaren or something, and parking next to. We said a Zafira, didn't we?
did say
It was the Zafira. We're like, can you imagine? They're parking next to Zafira. Some mum's come with their kids to this thing, and she's stressed out, and the kids are making a noise, and she's opening doors and she dings it on the Zafira because she's not thinking because there's so many other things going on. That's not a generalisation or sexist or anything like that. It's just,
But he said it.
yeah, it is just what could have happened. So we were sort of worried about that. The day that she turned up we arrived, she was there in a Zafira. We were just like, oh no, it's a sign. So she had that business around the back, didn't she, the lady? And they didn't really have any customers ever. But we tried to keep their car park area
We
reserved.
pinned off
Yeah,
some places for
we
them.
tried really
But
hard.
we'd agreed parking with them as well. hadn't we?
We'd agreed rules for the
that
car park.
They were happy with
The
number of
problem
spaces
is,
we'd agreed.
we couldn't really afford to have somebody sat outside all the time policing it. And customers would come in and park in their spaces. No matter how many signs we put up, no matter how much we asked people not to, that's what happened. They got quite angry
But we did
about
actually
it.
get people to move their cars.
We
didn't
did. We get people to, yeah. But they got quite angry about it, and I got sort of
we? Attacked.
slightly attacked. Apparently, because
But anyway,
I got attacked by some bloke. I don't even know who he was. He just started attacking me.
But
and
if that was the case, why did they attack you?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was like a anti-Japanese thing. I don't know. But yeah, so that there was highs and lows to it from that, wasn't there? But a lot of car people came, didn't they? And,
Yeah, I think neither of us appreciated the fact. The reality of it was we were running a cafe, and
neither of us wanted to do that. did
everyone
we?
else was having a nice time looking at cars. I think that's probably a bit.
I was working in the kitchen cooking bacon and sausage rolls, which is not. I mean, I like cooking, but I don't like cooking 50 breakfasts in a row. You know, particularly. I know Chris is laughing now because he's the one who makes you bacon sausage at our events now. I've delegated successfully.
We should point out Chris does this for free every day as well.
Yes, he
not
does.
every day.
No, once a
days a
month.
week.
Once a month.
So, I don't want to rush you through, but
Yeah.
how did you end up moving, or why did you decide that you were going to move from the Peak District here to Stamford?
Well, it was, apart from it being an unmitigated disaster up there, I mean, what happened was, as it started, it was very busy. And there's some, do you remember our first customers were the Porsche guys, weren't
Yeah.
there? We put a post out saying, oh, you know, we're opening up soon, come and try our coffee for free.
We still talk to him now, don't we?
Yeah, they were the Pigs Will Fly lot, weren't they? And they came and had, they came a few days before, and
The
then
Porsche groups are available.
yeah, and they came along, and they were a great laugh, and they've been supporting us ever since. And we go to their events now to support them a bit as well as a bit of a thank you, Matt. Last event you did was brilliant, by the way, because
Yep,
of course he's
really
going to
was.
watch this, because you know everyone's going to be, aren't they?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so that was really good. But what we found was the car park would be full very, very quickly, because only 30 spaces. And then other people would come and the car park would be full, so then they would go somewhere else, and then the car park would empty out, and there'd be nobody in the car park. And it was like that, wasn't it? It was either full or empty.
I think also it was free to attend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
Certain
but
car
a
groups.
lot of people came
Certain
and
car
didn't spend
groups,
any
I
money.
think, so.
And
Yeah.
the reality was the overheads were quite high.
They
weren't
were,
they?
yeah.
And so we had high overheads, and although it always looked busy and people would come and sort of say, oh, this place is doing really well, the reality for Wood Hills was quite different. And ultimately, a business has to at least break even, doesn't it? Even if you're doing it. I think we always did it as a hobby, didn't we? We never thought it was going to be anything more than a
But
hobby.
you couldn't get anybody to run it either. So
No,
every
so-
other weekend, one of us was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Have to
became our
accept
lives
running
at the weekends, and it was costing £1,000 a week. Is what it was doing.
Yeah, that's the
you know,
reality.
that's the reality of it. It was hemorrhaging money, and we were losing all of our
It was killing
lives. Yeah, it was. Yeah, relationship with family not good. You know, and I hated. To be honest, I absolutely hated anything to do with cars. It ruined my enjoyment with cars that year.
It just became a burden, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it did. It did. So, you know, people out there thinking it looks like a good idea. It wasn't, and. So
But good luck to anyone who does want to do it, because
Yeah.
I'm happy to come.
yes, do you know what? I mean, we
You can make loads of money.
we made a thing we wanted to go to and never got to go to it.
Yeah.
That was the reality of it. And I think it probably would have been quite good. I think we would have enjoyed going to it, but we just never got.
I came to it a few times. I quite
Was it
enjoyed
good?
it.
Yeah. Well, we hung around for a bit, didn't we? To be fair, but it got to the point where it was getting worse and worse and worse, and it just was not going to stack up. And it was very busy to start off with, and I don't think it's because we dropped quality or anything, but I just think the fact that the variable amount of cars was a problem. So people wanted to come and see cars. So you had a lot of like car spotters or kids or families who wanted to come and see cars, didn't have a nice car, but we only had 30 parking spaces. So you could end up with 30 normal cars in a car park and nothing interesting to see, and that was always a problem. Do you remember the McLaren event?
Yeah, there wasn't any McLaren.
We did a McLaren event and it rained, so no McLarens turned up, and there was like a building full of people waiting to see McLarens, and you know, nobody came, and so
I think actually being on a busy road didn't help, did it? Because
Maybe.
we were always trying to. No, I don't mean.
Well,
I
people
mean,
were
more
past
trying-
it, would see it, but they were past it.
yeah.
And also, I mean, you had. I remember there was always people outside trying to encourage people to drive.
yeah,
And we were always trying to manage that, because obviously you're trying to
Get
manage
them to
business
wheel
and
spin
you
out
don't
and
want-
things.
You don't want people having a big crash outside your
No,
premises,
and-
so.
So it got to the point where we had to shut, and it was really difficult for me because I put a lot of money into it, a lot of effort, and all of that, and shutting it felt like a bit of a failure, to be honest. And it's quite a public one as well, because there's a few thousand people on our social media and following, and I met a lot of great people through it, and I felt like it was a proper failure. And when we did that, there was a few people that messaged me. You guys will know who you are. One said that he'd recently moved into the area, and when we started Ignition, and didn't really have any friends there, and he was really depressed and he was struggling. And by the time we'd shut, he's got loads of friends, and he'd built a community. Sort
Hi,
of.
Ollie.
Sorry?
Hi, Ollie.
No. Ollie doesn't have loads of friends. What are you on about? No, it wasn't Ollie. And that actually made his life a lot better. And you know, that sort of, you know, brought a tear to the eye, to be honest, and made me think, well, maybe it was worth the massive financial loss for that. But there was a few people who messaged with those kind of things, saying that it really made a difference to them the time we were open, and that meant a lot. And we had achieved something. We'd built a bit of a following. We'd got an idea of what works and what doesn't. So I wanted to continue it on. So we took on a unit in Stamford, which was across the way from where my office was, and we thought, we've got a lot more space here. If we could do it once a month, it might be able to cover its costs. And like the pent-up demand of once a month might ensure we get a lot of, you know, good quality, decent cars coming. And again, we opened up, and the car community, you know, welcomed us in with open arms, and it's been pretty busy ever since. I think we've basically sold out every event
We've
now,
been
aren't
fully
we?
booked the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been brilliant, and it still loses a bit of money, but it's not too bad. We get a bit of benefit out of it. There's some ramps here we can tinker with, and you know, all that kind of thing. Somewhere dry to be in the winter, so there's some benefit to the, you know, to the financial sort of downside of it. It's nowhere near what it was, but it's also not ruining our lives because we're not on it every weekend, and we're actually, You
It's
know,
local.
it's local, all that kind of thing. And weirdly, the thing I didn't really appreciate was that the area we're in, there's so many more car enthusiasts around here. There's massive demand for it, and the quality of cars we get out of events is fantastic. You know,
Come and see.
yeah, if you've not been, come and have a look. You know, if you like Porsches especially, half the car park's Porsches usually, isn't it? There's usually a little Alfa Romeo segment because I'm not a fanboy. But yeah, so that's kind of how it came about and unusual things that happened. Were you there when we got invaded by sheep?
I bet you loved that, didn't you?
I don't remember that.
So
We got snowed out that one.
we got snowed out once.
Yeah,
we got invaded by. So we were there once, and a load of sheep had broken out from a farmer's field, and they filled the car park, and they just crapped everywhere.
Because we got broken into.
We got broken into like the second week. Do you remember that? Or it wasn't the second week. It was a few weeks in.
Yeah.
It was.
There's some good memories.
Yeah.
Amongst the others.
The landlord
Well.
was stealing our biscuits and water
And
the whole
water.
time
Literally caught him, put the pipe through, didn't we?
from our unit to him. It was very unusual. But we did meet a lot of great people, and a lot of them we're still friends with. We actually met you there, didn't we, Phil? How did that come about?
That indeed was an accident.
Yeah.
I'd overheard a rumour that Caffeine and Machine were opening a place in Derbyshire.
Well, they were going to, weren't they?
They were.
We heard that a week after we'd opened. We're like, I've invested all this money.
So I went out searching for this new Caffeine and Machine venue and couldn't find it. So I stopped at yours.
Right, that's very kind of you.
And I quite liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it so much I stayed.
Mm. Yeah, and you came on our first road trip, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's where we got to know you properly. So yeah, that's the story of Ignition. There's a lot more to go through there and a lot more to unpack. We'll perhaps do that on...
Maybe some legal implications as well. So
yeah, some ones we need to be a bit quiet about. But we can talk about that more another time. So, well, I think that's about it for this week. So next week we've got our theme. Phil's going to come up with a car on a trip for us, which we look forward to. See if you can spend more than £5 this time, perhaps.
I'm sure Phil can.
And if anybody's got any suggestions for topics, one of the, literally up to 5 people who watch this podcast, yeah, please put it in the comments. If you've got any topics you want us to talk about, or if you've got anything you want to discuss what we've said, please put that in there. Please like it if you liked it, or even if you don't, please do. It still helps us. Subscribe if you can and share it. That really helps the analytics. That really helps it get out to more people.
Or just watch it several times.
If you could watch it like 10 times on 10
different
different computers, that'd be great. If you happen to run like one of those Chinese hacking farms, that would be good as well. That would be great. So, yeah, that's it. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Good
Thanks.
night.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.